Hello and welcome to episode 4 of the Peplink podcast, our Christmas episode. As ever, I'm joined with Joey. Joey, how are you doing?
Hi, Adam. All good here. You're looking oh dearly lovely.
But we'll go on to the jokes later.
Okay.
I've got a really good one. I'm not going to spoil it, but I've got a really good one this time, I promise. Now, this episode, we're joined with some special guests. We've got, first of all, our returning guest, and that would be Captain Nik, all the way from New Zealand. Very different setting from last time we saw you. How are you doing, Nik?
Hello, guys. Yeah, I'm doing very well, thank you. Yeah, no, back in New Zealand now for the summer Christmas special, I suppose it is. Yeah, very opposite to what you guys have on the other side of the world. So, yeah, good to be here. Good to be here.
I don't know. I'm hiding in one of Peplink's global offices at the moment, and it's quite warm here, but hey, it's all fun. And we're also joined, talking about Peplink, by somebody else from Peplink who is featured on the webinars. We have Travis. Travis, how are you doing? Love the hat.
Thank you. I'm just an elf in Santa's workshop here.
That sounds really good. And it must be quite early for you over there as well.
It is. Yes, you got me up at quite the hour, but happy to be here nonetheless.
It's all good. And we're also joined by another extra special guest, also from America. We have Professor P. Professor P, how are you doing?
Awesome. How are
And
you?
I love this top. Stand up and tell us a bit more about this top. This
These
looks
are
amazing.
our last year's ugly sweater contest, and you can see it's a wreath full of Peplink equipment. My brother designed it last year, and then on the back we have our West Networks logo. And we
That is
made
just
this last year
brilliant.
as a promo, a Peplink promo, and handed out to a whole bunch of. We put them in boxes and handed them out to people that bought Peplink routers last Christmas.
Well, I look forward to getting one day, perhaps when you do some reprints. I think that look absolutely brilliant on me.
That'd be fun.
Okay, so the first section we're going to start with today will be our Peplink stories. And as we've got so many wonderful guests today, I'm going to invite Nik to share a quick story with us. Maybe it's got a Christmas theme or something. Take it away, Nik.
Thank you. You know, we got lots of Christmas stories. I said none of them are really Christmas theme, but we always like coming in as the saving elves, just before Christmas. I think one of the most recent ones we had was last Christmas. We had a couple of super yachts that was going out and doing their, Christmas trips, and everyone was having fun right until their third-party router decided to not work anymore, and they couldn't watch their Christmas movies and all their jingles out of the boat. So we had to quite literally take a helicopter out and replace the primary router that was installed on board with a BR2 under the arm, and basically come in and save the day. Plug in a new Peplink router, a couple of unlimited SIM cards, and off we went, and everyone was happy. Sing Merry Christmas tunes for the rest of the day. Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah.
Well, I hope they at least gave you some mince pies and some nice drinks when you got on board.
I think we had more pressing matters. Everyone was sort of just looking at me impatiently. Can you please fix the problem, Mr. Tech Guy?
That's amazing, isn't it, Peter? Have you got anything you'd like to ask Nik about that little deployment?
That sounds the idea of flying. I mean, obviously, I just started this airplane training journey, and so the idea of flying a helicopter and installing equipment, it sounds really fun.
Yeah, we've done that more often than you'd think, to be honest. It's I say we do that sort of stuff maybe 3 or 4 times a year. We get some of these like emergency calls, and because these boats go in like super remote areas, it's like, hey, we need to, someone might have something fundamentally broken on like an MBX we had failed last year. We've had this other third-party router fail. We've had people that's had their hot failover units fail as well, and be like, no, we need this one working. And we're out here in the middle of nowhere, and we can just send it to the next port. No, you need to come to fix it now because the boss is here, and we need to make sure that it's working all the time. And it's like, okay, sure. Oh, you just need to show up. We're going to come pick you up. We've had other times as well. Quite a number of years ago, I flew out to Fiji. And right next to Fiji Airport, there's like a private dock. And one of the super yachts tenders, or one of the smaller boats, were waiting for me. But it was not just a smaller boat. It was a jet boat that does like 75 knots on the water. So I got picked up in this thing, got strapped in, and we were doing like 65, 70 knots out to this super yacht because I had to go there like super fast to fix these things because the boss was like literally waiting for it. And got out there and then fixed the problem. And then they just quite literally just dropped me off in one of the nearest islands, booked me into a hotel, and I couldn't get home for like 3 days. So I was sort of stranded on an island in Fiji because I couldn't get home because there was no ferry that that went back, and yeah, that was quite fun, but it was like.
I'm just wondering who the real agent is here. I thought I was Agent Adam, but you sound like you have the lifestyle.
It's just a fun story. I had a similar experience a long time ago with a customer. Not quite as extreme, but it's wild how quickly things get urgent in the yacht business, and how, yeah, they just need it now.
And they got money to spend too, so it's like no expense spared. We need to fix it like right now.
I think it's a really nice story, and I'm like, this is setting the bar really high for us, our stories.
I kind of want to change my story.
I don't know if we can top this.
Well, let's try. I'm going to invite Pete to have a little go now and tell us about one of his little stories. Take it away.
Yeah, thank you. It's pretty funny because I was obviously listening to Nick tell his story, but when I think of Christmas, I think about like Christmas antics, right? Yeah, Christmas Vacation, the movie, you know, where crazy stuff happens. And so I was told to tell this story about a Christmas install, and all I can think of is I had this mobile medical unit that just got delivered. They wanted their internet now. And so and it was around Christmas time. It was November, December time frame. And so I drove up like I always do. I drive up in my car, not helicopters, but I drove up to Rochester, New York, and it started snowing. Well, then it started hailing. And so I'm trying to install these antennas on the roof of this mobile medical vehicle in a hailstorm. And so I went to Home Depot and I got a little portable heater, and I bought a tarp and I put it over my head, and the hole in the area that I wanted to work had a little heater to keep the temperature decent so that the glue would secure to the roof, and drilled the holes with my legs outside getting pelted by snow and hail, because like my whole body wouldn't fit underneath the tarp. And so I'm like, and I sent you a little picture of this so you can maybe use it for B-roll or something later. But I was sitting on this blue tarp over my head, and I'm trying to drill these holes in it was freezing, and it was not the most fun install in the world. But we got it done, and that medical clinic was launched the next morning.
And that hail can really hurt when it hits you as well, can't it?
It's not, being from Florida, it's not the most fun in the world to get pelted by snow and hail. I don't like Florida. I like that I can ride my motorcycle year round and I don't have to worry about hailstorms.
Travis, you're very much from the other end of America, aren't you?
I'm in Minnesota, so it just goes straight to snow. We don't really do the in-between hail thing, but I can just imagine how loud that must have been under that tarp. That's impressive effort for sure.
I've just seen the pictures. It is a really narrow space. I am impressed. That is a tough installation.
It was not fun. It was not fun.
Jesus.
Yeah, no, I can somewhat relate to that, you know, growing up in Scandinavia as well. You know, it's I know what it's like working in the snow and the hail, and yeah, no, it's I've done some outdoor installs as well. I used to do, you know, music systems outside and stuff when it was winter, and yeah, I can relate to doing that sort of stuff. So yeah, good on you, Pete. That was well done. Well done, Pete, the hero, Peplink hero. So Joey, do you have a story for us?
Yeah, I think it's a recent one. It's with you actually, Adam. When
Me?
we did a test of a OneWeb dish, your Kamita version for it, and we had 2 of those Starlink dishes on top of your car, and we drove around, had a few calls, testing out different things, and that all combined in a BR2 Pro, which I think the funniest thing is getting all of those things powered on, because I think we had 1 or 2 times we had a flat battery, so that was quite a challenge in general. But it was real fun.
It is crazy how much power those satellite dishes take up. And I know Peter's got some comments on this in a second, but all I remember about that day is it just rained and rained and rained. And we had so many plans of things to do driving up and down the motorway. And we were doing team calls and it was tipping it down, and it was just absolutely perfect. We'd go somewhere else and then the wind picked up. Just an absolute storm all the time. But talking about power and everything, I know, Pete, you recently had the Kometa dish and some Starlinks out on a little camping trip, didn't you?
I did. We set up a Calmetta and Starlink. We had the Starlink Mini, the Starlink Enterprise, and a Calmetta. It was interesting because with that big dish, we were doing the EcoFlow solar battery solution, and so in the woods, it was actually really hard to generate enough electric via solar to power the unit. But then it had that little yellow sticker that says, "Please stay 3 meters away," or something like that. And the moms saw that and they're like, "No." They wouldn't let any of the kids in the campground. Like, as long as that thing is powered on, you can't be in the campground. So we had to shut it off because they're just like, no. Like that little tiny yellow sticker, and it just made everybody afraid. I was like, man, don't put that sticker on there next time.
Surely you could just roast your marshmallows on there.
We use this as a table. I mean, the thing's massive, so we just turned it off and used it as a table.
Yeah, Cometa ones especially, they're really hungry things, you know. I mean, the Starlinks are actually getting pretty power efficient now, but the Cometa ones are like crazy hungry for power. And I think there's, you know, without going too much in technical details, there's a couple of things that can be improved. Let's just say that.
Have you seen that new dual dish OneWeb that they just released? It was like a couple weeks ago. It's like two.
Not the
It
Instax,
almost looks like
right?
two. It looks like almost like two of the new Gen 3s, the new Starlink Gen 3s, and then it's like a transmit and a receive, lower power, and it's a little bit bigger than the HP.
That's the Intellian one, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. So we'll be doing
I think
a video about
that's a response to the Instax one as well.
I think that's going to be something exciting next year. I'm looking forward to plugging a few of those into Peplinks and seeing how they perform.
I find it fascinating, the stories you guys are telling about your camping trips and testing out internet. It's like you guys are playing with some of the most powerful connectivity stuff in the world, and it's just like your toy, you know. Like, I just get a kick out of that. But it's kind of plays into some things that I'll talk about in a minute here, just trends that I've seen last year and going forward too. So it's it all kind of fits together here.
Brilliant. Shall I talk about my Christmas story?
Please do.
Yes, please.
Well, this will be probably the third or fourth year that we've done it, and we get involved in these Christmas light trails. You've probably seen them. I know they have them in the States. I know they have them. I wonder if they are Christmas ones by the time you get down to New Zealand. But these little light trails that you walk around at night, and you go and you see all these wonderful art installations and little light tunnels you walk through, and then you'll stop and you'll buy yourself a little drink, and then you'll go a bit further and you'll buy yourself a little toasting marshmallow. But all of these things all need connectivity, and they're always in the worst possible places, like forests or big national trust properties, a bit like you see on Downton Abbey and things like that. I mean, you know what the UK's like with all their castles and everything. Absolutely awful for phone signal with all these big walls. So we've taken to using those Peplink transits everywhere, giving you the dual cellular. And those, because they've got all the really good modems inside there, the good antennas, will get signals where their traditional card machines won't and their ticket scanners won't. And for them, it's important in those short hours that you're wandering around doing these trails to actually get as much money as possible from the punters, because you're going to make money by the drinks that they're buying. So when they pass that card over to you, it's got to work. You've got to be able to take payment for whatever product it is that you're buying for. And that's really where, you know, the Peplink dual cellular devices work. And now with Starlink, there's probably not anywhere we can't cover. Absolutely brilliant technology. So that's my story about Christmas and light trails and Peplink.
All right, I've got a question for you. Do you also, I know you're doing a lot with Wi-Fi as well. Did you also do Wi-Fi mesh with that?
We don't do Wi-Fi mesh, but only because these light trails are about 3 kilometers long. So what's that, about nearly 2 miles long? So there's a long distance between each of the concessions. You'll walk a bit and then you'll do something, you'll walk a bit and you do something. So really there's probably only about 2 or 3 devices per Peplink connected. So there's no reason to use mesh. It's better, rather than having single points of failure, to have a transit at each of the stops where you need that connectivity.
There you go.
Do you guys do much with do you do much with 5G or do you stay kind of, is it low bandwidth? What's the reasoning behind the transit?
In the UK, there's not a lot of 5G at the moment, and any 5G that is in the UK is all NSA stuff. So it's very short range. And I think one of the problems is that it's quite hilly in the UK, and we've got massive regulation with the radio waves and everything. So 5G isn't really a mature thing in the UK yet, but we're only talking for that particular project scanning a ticket to authorize it, scanning a card, and we all know that's very low bandwidth, but that bandwidth has to work. Very, very stuff. But it has to work 100% of the time. It has to be unbreakable. Yeah.
I love it.
What was your favorite concession?
It would probably have to be the mulled wine. And for those people that don't know what mulled wine is, it's kind of a red spiced wine that's warmed. So not only does it warm your hands, it warms your inside, and it makes you feel quite happy.
Yeah, we actually still make that every Christmas. We make it. I make it from the ground up. Yeah.
I'm coming to your house next time.
But we make it with rum, so we do the mulled wine, but we also have obviously spice. But we like 2 weeks before Christmas, we take a big glass jar, we fill it with almonds, like diced almonds and raisins, and then we fill it and we keep filling it up with rum until it's completely full to the top, and then we close the lid and we leave it for about 2 weeks. It sucks up, so all the raisins and the almonds sucks up all the rum, and then we put that into the mulled wine as well, and then you take a little spoon and as you drink it, you eat these raisins, which are soaked up all the rum. It's perfect.
I might have a new favorite concession.
That sounds amazing.
It's really good, especially if it's negative 15 degrees outside, like it normally is, and skinny in the winter. It's nice. It keeps you warm.
So they're rum infused almonds and raisins.
Yep, inside the mulled wine, which is also warm. So it's really good.
Interesting.
That tradition, I can get used to that too. I'm a fan of the tradition. I think that's the neat application. Like you said, it's a short event, and it's now. They need those transactions right now. It's a unique use case, but the need is clear.
Yes.
So those were really, really interesting stories. Thanks very much for sharing those. Now, Travis, you alluded a little bit earlier that you've got some things you'd like to tell us about this year, perhaps reflect on what's happened in 2024 with Peplink. Take it away.
Yeah, well, I think there's two things that I feel like happen pretty much every year at Peplink, and this year was no exception. The craziest projects seem to get crazier every year. I mean, it just never ceases to amaze me at how far our partners and our customers are able to take this technology, and I think we had some great examples of that just on the stories tonight. In my eyes, this year got crazy with cruise ships, and Peter, I know you were on a lot of cruise ships this year, but they just took off. I mean, we've had a lot in the past, but this level of sophistication, the amount of bandwidth, the amount of connections, it's just like, it was hard to believe it was real the first time I saw it, and now it's on tons and tons of ships.
Can you share any examples with us? Is there anything you've worked on, Pete, that you can tell us about?
I mean, it all started almost a year and a half ago. It was kind of like right before the 2022, right? No, 2023. It was like October-ish of 2023. This all started, and I got a phone call, and they go, "Hey, we want to do a demo of trying to bond 12 Starlinks together on one of our ships," and I was like, "Oh, I'd love to help. Let me ask Travis if I'm allowed to borrow an EPX and take it down, and we'll plug it in." And I was like, when do you want to do this? And he goes, this is by the way, they called me on a Thursday, and he goes, on Monday morning at 7 a.m. And I go, okay. And they needed, in order to make this work, they wanted to play around with speed fusion bonding. And so we had to overnight an EPX to their data center and give them quick instructions on how to, bring it online. And then I grabbed an EPX and a whole bunch of I just grabbed modules and switches and everything I could think of and threw it in the back of my car and drove down to Miami and boarded my very first ever cruise ship. And we did the very first Starlink bonding, and I sat and I'm sure Nik, I mean, this was my first ever time on a boat, really. I'm in this like metal white, everything's white painted metal room, and everybody else is out there, in this cruise ship partying, and I'm sitting in this like data center bunker. Looks like a nuclear, shelter type space. And we're basically just in there for 3 days programming the Peplink router and working with Starlink and trying to figure out how to make the interactions work, get the load balancing working properly, and get the bonding working properly. Obviously, there's some unique nuances to Starlink as an internet service. And from there, it just exploded, right? It exploded into, holy cow, this works. And the news spread so fast. And it became it's the fastest growth I've ever seen when it talks about adoption of Peplink with this scenario, because it was like we did this and then it was like whoosh, I mean, we're getting phone calls from every different cruise ship company, and then watching what Nik was doing with Starlink and all of his deployment. It was like, it just blew up so fast. And it was one of the coolest things to ever watch, and to be part of that evolution, and then growing to where it was like, now it's like major events with a whole bunch of Starlink, which I know, Adam, you've done. And it's all the same thing. It exploded. It's been a fun year. I remember just talking to Tim and just going, 2024 is going to be fun.
It was. And also, looking back at 2024, is there anything else that stands out? Obviously, apart from your most amazing conference in Orlando this year, Peter, which was just superb. I mean, also the tech day that we had in Nijmegen, that was also pretty good, Joey. Anything else that stands out this year, guys?
Yeah, for me, I get all this. For me, the evolution of integration of different WANs. I remember the very first Peplink Tech Summit with Travis, and we just talked about, it's about increasing the nines, right? Travis, it's one of my favorite statements from Travis. It's like, when we think about Peplink, we think about robustness and reliability, and we think about, Travis just blurted it out. It's like, it was this natural thing. It's just the amount of nines, like how much uptime can we give? And Starlink brings this next level of uptime when it comes to that. But not only that, it's millimeter wave and 5G sub 6 and SA and NSA and Starlink and OneWeb, and there's others now that are popping up, but then you still have like cable and broadband, and all these connections are getting better. I mean, customers are going, hey, can I get a 10 gig internet circuit? Like, what router supports 10 gigs? Because they're getting 10 gigs at their house. I would never think that somebody would be getting 10 gigs of internet at their house. And so we're dealing with entirely new levels of broadband, and they want the Wi-Fi to match that. They're going, hey, I'm paying for this, multi-gig internet. I want to be able to see this utilization. If I'm paying for 2 gigs or 10 gigs, I want to see that. And for me, 2024 has been about massive amounts of bandwidth. I mean, it's bandwidth that I've never played with in my life. Because when we first started this, it was like, how can I get 5 megs of upload? I mean, that's what we were trying to do. How do we take this 3G and 4G service and create a 5 meg upload? And now customers are going, I want a gig. How do I get a gig of upload? And residences are saying, hey, I've got this, I bought this 2 gig internet for my fiber. Like, how do I use that? How do I connect 2 gigs or 10 gigs of internet in my house? And it's just, the amount of bandwidth that's being requested has just gone up so much, and it's escalated in the last year. And by the way, I was wrong about that cruise ship. It was 2 years ago. That was 20. I believe that was 20. Yeah. So
time goes fast.
It does.
What's the most number of WANs that you've ever done, Peter? What's the most number of WANs you've ever had connected? I'm just asking for a friend.
That's just because you're gonna one up me. I think the most I've ever done is 40. I got the EPX with my 40V WAN license.
That's okay. I mean, it's nothing to be ashamed of. 40 is pretty good. I mean, we did 101 this year. I'm just saying, and I think we're going to better that this year or next year. That's our plan for next year.
I would quickly want to add something to that. I think the versatility of Peplink is so good, especially with this year's B1. I think it's such a nice device, and it really, really helps us a lot with overcoming a lot of the challenges that we have on a daily basis. And I think it's just such a nice device. You have the 4G version, you have the 5G version, but you have also, without the modem, you still have virtual WANs, so you can even go up to 5 WAN ports if you really need them. The versatility is there. It's an amazing product.
Well, I think that B1 has really, really opened up Peplink to a whole new marketplace, to new people that have never dreamt of being able to use Peplink can now actually get a Peplink device at a price point that works for them.
Yes.
Gigabit under at a very low price. It's crazy.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up, Joey, because that actually was the second thing that I see every year with Peplink is Peplink gets more mainstream every single year. And I think the B1 is the best example of that yet. And so, yeah, I completely agree. That device just opens us up to a whole new audience and a whole new group of people that also need speed fusion, right? It's not just flashy technology for them. It's actually useful for them as well. And yeah. More mainstream.
We love the B1. It's the product that we probably sell. Well, it is the product we sell the absolute most of. The B1 5G is the go-to. You might not think that it's the kind of product we put on a boat, but it's the number one product we put on boats nowadays. And a lot of the time, we actually end up just doing the normal B1, and then we put 2 Starlinks on it. Not the big ones, but the roam. And we've done a lot of B1s, even for like commercial residents and all sorts of other stuff, where people just want to have redundancy, and they want to have, maybe an ADSL line or fiber line together with 5G and together with potentially Starlink as well. And the B1 5G for a very affordable price can do all of that. We've started to seriously compete with the likes of Fortinet. We've opened up a lot of doors. In the past couple of months, we've had massive doors open with companies that's been, Fortinet powerhouses, and they're looking at this stuff. They're like, holy smokes, this stuff is awesome. And it doesn't cost a fortune. And it's not going to cost a fortune next year again. It's very, very cool. And it's amazing how we, Peplink, and as a community, it's just gone from strength to strength to strength. And we've all benefited from, different angles of preference to, can we add this or can we do this? And then a product come out that, initially I looked at the B1 and I was like, oh, this is okay. We were using the B20X, last year, and it was all right for some of the stuff. And they made a box that was just 10 times better. And it was like, this is epic. And I can't, wait until what the next box is going to be like.
I think the Max antenna is also a really, really nice thing from Peplink that the engineers did really well on. I think that combines that with the B1, or it's a good addition to anything. It's a really nice and not really expensive introduction into what Peplink can do.
Absolutely. And it's the kind of product that we've been asking for a while. Yes, it's a very, very useful product. And we've already pre-sold another almost 10 units of the Antenna Max already for next year, where people are like, nah, this is going on my boat.
Yes.
Well, you brought up the Antenna Max, so now I have to say my Antenna Max, posting you guys pictures last night, and I'm kind of getting into the airplane world right now. And so last night I was flying home from Virginia, and that would normally take me around 12 hours, and I was able to do that in 3 hours. But I took my Antenna Max with my BR1 Pro 5G and my Starlink Mini, and we're texting and sending pictures last night with my BR1 Max BR1 Pro with the Max antenna connected to T-Mobile 5G, and then my Starlink Mini in the dashboard of the airplane. And I was browsing the internet and connected and work. It was a lot of fun. And that Max antenna, it was really nice to see how Peplink basically married this BR1 and the Max, and what they're doing with the Transit Pro and things like that, where you've got this platform now where you can take great technology and marry it with it's not even just a good connection. It's like a perfect ecosystem, which they've done well always with cellular and different connections. Now they're doing it with hardware. They're taking these amazing routers and marrying it almost perfectly with these antennas and enclosures. So I'm liking that, and I think that's a good segue into the future, what's going to be coming, because I think that's going to be a lot of what's happening next year.
Well, let's talk about this future, because this is what I'm most excited about. You can tell I'm excited about the future. And that's maybe because I've been here at this Peplink office today, and I've been showed and teased with a few things. And so the first thing I want to speak about is, let's speak about Wi-Fi 7. I hear that Wi-Fi 7 is imminent. I hear the R&D folks at Peplink are already looking at it. Now, is there anything you can share with us, Travis, about Wi-Fi 7 and Peplink?
You're definitely gonna see it next year. Where you'll see it, I can't say exactly where it's gonna come first. But yeah, we will definitely see it sneak into. Yeah, I gotta leave you something to talk about too here. But yeah, we will see it sneak into a few different places, I think, this year. And you're not the only one that's anxious about Wi-Fi 7, though, that's for sure.
There's definitely a lot of people. I hear that it may appear in some pre-existing devices that Peplink have initially. and they may become more of a standalone device. I know they're looking at lots of different things, but it's certainly exciting that it is coming.
Yeah, I think you'll see some devices kind of upgrade. Maybe, it looks like a data sheet upgrade, but in reality there's hardware behind that too.
Presumably, do we need to increase bus speeds and things inside the devices as well so it can cope with the new Wi-Fi? It's not just put in a new Wi-Fi module. There's a whole raft of things that have to happen and tested and certified to make sure it's going to work and have the reliability we've come to expect from Peplink.
Yeah, it's basically a ground up, brand new, it's just like if you put a new engine into a car, you got to have a transmission that can handle that engine and all those things too. So yeah, it's a very comprehensive thing. You can't just kind of upgrade that one component, generally speaking. So yeah, it's a big effort, but I think just speed in general, you're going to see a lot of new platforms, new devices in 2025, and the Wi-Fi speed is a big feature there.
I'm just super excited. I mean, we've actually, unfortunately, we've lost some potential deals because the customer was like, "Nah, you have to have Wi-Fi 7," and even though it's still quite new, we've had public tenders where the requirement is you got to have Wi-Fi 7, and we come to Peplink and say, "Can we have Wi-Fi 7?" And they said no, and I'm like, "But I want it," and they said, "You have to wait for Christmas," and then it's Christmas now. I still can't have it. So you're kind of teasing us now, Travis. We need it now. We want it now.
We also want it to work and be perfect. So yeah.
I was just saying that along that lines, it reminds me like when we first launched 5G, everybody was saying, "I want 5G, I want 5G, I want 5G," and Peplink had to rebuild all of our chipsets, right? Because in order to do 5G, we needed to have a minimum baseline of gigabit, and that was one of the requirements. Was the platform had to support gigabit. Otherwise, it'd just be a disappointment. You'd lose, like everybody do a speed test on their cell phone and say the Peplink was too slow. And so we had to take all these 400 megabit routers, which was perfectly fine pre-5G, and upgrade them to a baseline of gigabit. And it changed the entire hardware platform in a matter of months. We went from these 100 to 400 megabit platforms, and everything's now 2.5 and 12 and 24 gigabits platform. And I think you're going to, with Wi-Fi 7, you're going to see the same thing, right? We're going to have to go to 2.5 gig interfaces. We need 10 gigabit interfaces. We need backplanes that support that throughput. And so, and we kind of teased that with the switches at the summit, that we're going to have, like, we've got to build an entire ecosystem to support Wi-Fi 7, like we did when 5G first came out. And so I think, that's a lot on a company to have to like take all the platform and say, okay, where are we going with this, and make sure everything supports it in the back end.
Well, we'll come on to, you've mentioned switches. I'm going to come on to switches in a second, but you've also mentioned 5G. Is there anything we can expect with 5G next year, Travis? Is anything changing with anything on any of the devices with 5G?
Yes, so you'll definitely start to see just generational updates on the chipsets there. Not quite as comprehensive of an overhaul like we were talking about with the Wi-Fi 7, but the Qualcomm X65, you'll start to see that kind of slip into some of the primary SKUs like those BR1 Pro 5Gs. And so that upgrade will kind of phase in over the course of the early part of the year. More products will ship with that updated chipset, but some will still keep the X62. There's not a huge difference, in my opinion, between the two. There's definitely advantages there, but again, not as major as like Wi-Fi 6 to Wi-Fi 7. But
all comes down to the use case, I suppose, really.
For sure, yep.
You know which device you need based on your use case.
You're using it on, and so yeah, for some people it will make a much bigger difference than others. But yeah, that's a life cycle change that's happening, and I think for the most part there's really no cost increase with that, right? We're able to upgrade these platforms, newer chipsets, and not change the price points on them. And so we're starting to see those economies of scale things happen in the 5G world, where it used to be a lot more expensive in the first or second generations. So good things for everybody, really. And
somebody's shown me the new rugged switch today. I've actually held one and touched one. It looks very, very nice. Don't get jealous, Joey. It's coming. But what can you tell us about the switch refresh next year?
I mean, I think I need to just let Peter talk about the switches, because he's the one that's been needing them, right? Everybody's wanted switches, but nobody more than Peter.
Come on, Peter.
This morning I got an email from Peplink, and they said, hey, we're terminating all of your orders for the 300 switches of backlog that we have, because it's the old switches, and so they want us to redo all the orders. So switches are a big part of my life. I play a lot in the enterprise space and really try to penetrate Peplink into the enterprise, competing against the bigger companies. And the switch is a big deal. For me, it is. It's a massive part of my integration in what West Networks does. And so it's like seeing what Peplink is doing with the new switch line, bringing in better chipsets, more throughput, more industry standard equipment. I mean, what Peplink did with the SD switch and the triple power supply, and it was awesome, but it was also very complex. And so it created a very expensive platform that was hard to scale and adapt. And so I think what Peplink's doing right now is we are and Travis said it perfectly, going mainstream, right? We're going. Like Peplink is no longer like this niche connection product. It is now a mainstream product, and I think 2024 that made us mainstream. The B1 5G, and it's funny you said that, but actually the 310 has become like a staple in branch connectivity now. And so like having like the B1 for Soho and the B310, bringing in cost effective, high throughput ecosystem, and then bringing in these switches. And so I'm a little jealous. The ability to play with these new switches and see what kind of throughput we're getting is absolutely, I'm very excited. I connected my HD2 LR domes to my new switches, and they're connecting at 2.5 gigabits. I've got my PoE, the PoE plus going there. And so it's having an HD2 LR at, look at you, Captain Nick. But having the HD2 LR negotiating at 2.5 gig, you having even the AXAP, which we've had for a while now, connecting at 2.5 gigs on a Peplink ecosystem, I'm just so giddy. That's my Christmas present. So
it's nice. Okay, all right. That's it for the recap and what's coming on for next year. Adam, I know that you are really want to get revenge on the last episode with your dad joke, Adam's joke. So what is it this time?
Well, I will tell you my joke as long as you can all share a joke as well.
I will. I have a good one.
In fact, I think you should all share your joke first, and then I'll do my joke last.
Okay. End up with a banger.
Because this, I promise you, it's a good joke. I've worked all month on this one. So it's good.
All right.
So, Joey, do you want to do the joke first?
Shall I do mine first then?
Go on then.
Okay. So, what is the best Christmas present?
Do not know, Joey. What is the best Christmas present?
Broken drums. Because you can't beat them.
Okay. Okay.
Yes?
Yes. Okay. I'm gonna score you. I'm only gonna score you 6 for that one. I'm sorry.
Yeah. You jealous?
6 out of 10. I'm not jealous of that one bit.
Okay.
Good. Now, Nick, I'm hoping you've been working on a joke because you've been messaging me and keep saying, "Do we still need that joke? Have I got a joke?"
Well, we were gonna do a Christmas themed one and a Peplink themed one as well. So I sort of thought long and hard about this one, so bear with me. Why did Rudolph insist on installing a Peplink router in the sleigh?
why?
Because Santa needed a bonded connection to drive the sleigh to Christmas Eve. That was the best I could come up. It was not a word.
That was.
I'm not a comedian.
Joey, I
least
don't
10
know
for
if
the
I should
effort.
increase. I don't know if I should increase Joey's score to 7 or I'm giving you 4, Nick.
I don't think it's worth 4. It's probably even less than that.
I was being kind.
It had everything in it. It had Christmas, Peplink, Rudolph, Santa. So, time for the effort for me.
Pete, now I know you've been asking the wonderful AI to come up with some jokes because you were sending me some amazing results from the AI the other day. But have you managed to come up with a joke now by yourself?
I'm bowing out. If you want to talk about technology or Peplink or talk about stories, I'm your man. When you want to talk about jokes, like I need my brother here. My brother Matthew, he would tell you a whole bunch of funny jokes. But we do have our Christmas album coming out here, so I got 7 of my 12 songs made.
I look forward to buying that. Travis, please save us. Have you got a joke?
I have a terrible joke for you. Yes.
Go on.
How do snowmen shop online?
Go on.
Internet.
Maybe it's the 3 a.m., but wow.
I'm giving him a 9 for that one, Joey. That's a 9 for me. I think that's brilliant.
I think it's definitely on par
Sure.
with Joey's, yeah.
Okay, do you want to hear mine then?
Yes.
We save
Take it
us.
away.
Okay. What do Peplink support engineers like to drink at the Christmas party? Screenshots.
That's good.
They
really like
That's
Johnny
good.
Walker.
That's good.
That's so dorky.
That's really good. That's really good.
It's even more fun when you understand it. Yeah, it's fucking hell. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but I mean, you know, like our support team is literally, that is our chat groups. Is just screenshots. Well, that and memes, right? It's a screenshot and then 6 memes, and then a screenshot and then 6 memes.
Yes. Same here. Yeah, it's good. Okay, so rating. I think that is a 8.5. It's better than the last one, in the last episode, for sure.
Are you just upset that I rated yours low?
No, not at all. No,
I'd
just
give it a
can't
9
beat the
out
guests.
of 10. I think it's a 9 out of 10. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was on point.
Yeah, it was good.
Okay. So just before we finish then, guys, and we round up, it'd be really good to hear from you. Just one really good feature or something about Peplink that you like this year.
One of the features that I like a lot is the forward error correction change in SpeedFusion. I think that's a really, really interesting one. And yeah, I think that's my favorite feature that came out this year.
So many to choose from. I think I'm probably gonna go with the introduction of eSIMs on the platform. That was a massive one for us, especially with remote deployments of eSIMs. That's gonna be definitely number one for this year.
Exciting.
I mean, there's just so many to pick from. I can't choose just one. It's got to be all of them.
I kind of have to agree with you. There's some really good stuff there. And you'll probably say the same thing, Peter, or do you have a feature that you've seen this year on Peplink that you really like?
I mean, for me, one of my first, I was going to go, it's synergy mode, right? I mean, synergy mode has really changed the way people work with Peplink routers. But for me, it's not a feature; it's a product, and I'm really excited about the B5000. I mean, that is easily my Christmas present. I'm fighting with Peplink right now to keep mine from the summit. But the ability to offer enterprise a 100 gig router, it makes me so happy. And so I would say this synergy mode, but I'm mostly excited about the introduction of a 100 gig router. I think that is going to be, that's just
Insane.
That's just icing
It's
on
the next step.
2024. When we think about like Starlink and all these cool high-speed Wi-Fi 7 we've talked about all these cool things, and it's like the B5000, 100 gig. Yeah, it's just, that's my favorite this year.
That's Peter's kid on Christmas
Amazing.
morning.
I have to agree with Nick, actually, that the eSIM's absolutely an amazing feature for Peplink. I've not seen another router in the marketplace that can support so many SIM cards now. It's untrue. I mean, we've got eSIM, we've got Fusion SIM, Remote SIM, Physical SIM, Peplink eSIM, all in one cellular modem. And I've probably even missed some there as well.
I mean,
But also
standard
just
redundancy.
using them. Yeah, but also using them in priority. I think that's also really, really nice feature, because previously it was not able to, we're not able to use it as a priority one on SIM card A, and that was possible, but eSIM then was something that you have to choose either of those. But now it's all like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yeah, it's really nice.
I'd have to say probably my most favourite feature of the year has to be the Starlink integration in the devices. And that just seems to get better and better and better. With every firmware that comes out, there's new features, like the way in which you can ignore obstructions now because you've got the SpeedFusion to take care of that. Who cares about an obstruction? It's just such a useful feature, unique to Peplink.
Yep, for sure.
It goes back to Travis's. What's the favorite feature? It's all of them.
Yeah, I mean,
There's so much to choose from. It's
it
like
really is all of them. But yeah, the eSIM is amazing when you can. I really like it too, and sometimes it's kind of a corner case, but just like pushing an eSIM over the air when you can't get the physical SIM to work. It's like now you've got this extra layer of testing that you can do without having to leave wherever you're at, and it makes it that much more remotely manageable now with the eSIM integration.
Brilliant.
All right, that's great. Okay, I think now we're gonna get some really good hot chocolate and Nick some rum, and really, really nice having you guys here. It's almost Christmas. Thanks for joining us, and have a lovely Christmas and a happy New Year. See you next year.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for coming, guys.
Yes, sir.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
All right, Merry Christmas.